I was never a bad guy. I never killed anyone. I never committed any serious crimes. But I guess for most people, it's the little things that build up. You know, a bit of anger over here, a spot of envy over there, and with each of these minor sins, every little lapse in concentration, the doors swing another inch until they're nice and firm. But it isn't simply a case of one or the other, which is what I thought. It isn't quite as fire and brimstone as that, no, because, well, there's this place here, you see, for people like me. It's kind of like if you're trying to get into a club and you've had too much to drink, but the doorman can see you're not out to cause trouble, you've just had too much. So he says, look, go away for a bit, cool down, I'll think about it. And you go, okay, fine. That's kind of what this place is. Kind of sort yourself out, try again later. But the thing is, you don't get told any of this. You just suddenly find yourself here and that's it. There are no instructions, no anything. If you get sent down there, then that's pretty final. I did learn that much. But, I know it sounds, at least you'd know where you stood. You know, you could comprehend your situation, whereas here there's hope. There is the chance that you will make it out. I suppose that's a journey they want you to go on, really, a case of if you can figure out how to get out of here, then we'll take you out. And so after the first few days, and I do use the term days out of habit, I mean, after the first few days, once the general panic has died down, you can start to think more about your situation and start to figure out what it is you're supposed to do. And at first, this comes out as a sort of pathetic, on your knees, pleading kind of cry for help. All aimed up there, of course, at the big guy, because, trust me, whether or not you were a believer in life, you get put in a place like this and opinions change. And so I just started to apologise, for anything I could think of, anything that came into my head. I said, look, I'm sorry I was born out of wedlock. I'm sorry I was a little prat at school. I'm sorry for falling asleep during songs of praise. I'm sorry for not saying grace before eating. I know I've said your name 1,000 times in anger, and many more in ecstasy. I know I've lied in interviews. I know I've skived off work. I know I've told people I always donate to comic relief when I don't. But come on. Am I really all that bad? And of course, nothing. It wasn't going to be as simple as that. But what did they want? And what could I do here? I mean, one could call my resources limited at best. Now, earlier on, I'd had a little brainwave. I thought, maybe this wasn't about me so much. Maybe it wasn't particularly the way what I'd done, but more how I'd behaved towards other people, the way I'd treat them. I mean, we call it a sign or divine intervention, whatever, but I had this passage come into my head, and it stuck around for a while. It was, whatever you do to your brothers, you also do to me, or something along those lines. And I started to think, well, perhaps that's why I've re-emerged here. And you see, lately I've been developing this terrible thing called empathy. It's been driving me mad, and I thought, perhaps that's what I'm supposed to be meditating on here. So I thought, who have I harmed? And unfortunately, that was a bit of an easy one. You see, shortly before all of this happened, I'd had my heart broken on New Year's Eve. I know, rough. And it was the first time this had happened to me, and it did hit me pretty hard. And for the first time, I began to empathise with all the girls I'd broken up with in the past, and I began to notice I was doing things that they had done. And back then, it just irritated me and made me more determined to be a dick to them. But now I understood. And so I decided to write a letter to all the girls I'd loved intensely and left quickly. But because I'd never had the chance to act upon this revelation, due to the situation I currently find myself in, I'm hoping that this is going to be it. Dear Chloe, I'm sorry our dream of a Greek island holiday never became a reality. Dear Lydia, I'm sorry I let my friends decide how I felt about you. Dear Rachel, I'm sorry I didn't listen when you said you had something to tell me. Dear Emma, I'm sorry I was seeing Sarah at the same time I was seeing you. Dear Sarah, I'm sorry I was seeing Emma at the same time I was seeing you. Dear Jenny, I'm sorry I was seeing Emma and Sarah at the same time I was seeing you. Dear Fifth Avenue Annie, Sakura Stacy, Casino Kate and Vodka Rev Bev, I'm sorry I named you after the places we met to help me remember who you were. Dear Megan, I'm sorry I had to go at you, but occasionally wanting to be the little spoon does not make me less of a man. Dear Samantha, I'm sorry I got drunk, fell into your bed, threw money at you and told you to dance. Dear Adeline, I'm sorry I called you boring for buying extra safe. Dear Rebecca, neither of us should apologise for what we did. Seriously. Dear Polly, I'm sorry I couldn't manage it. You have no idea how sorry. Dear Harriet, I'm sorry I put you on hold while you were crying. Dear Melanie, I'm sorry I told you there weren't enough life rafts on the ferry. Dear Amy, I'm sorry I considered selling you in Egypt. Dear Liz, I'm sorry I ran away. Dear Abby, I'm sorry I never paid. Dear Katie, I'm sorry you had to see that. Dear Susie, I'm sorry I couldn't stand you. Dear Holly, I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I died. I'm sorry I cheated. I'm sorry there was not time to listen to your crap, but now I understand, so you give me a chance. Come on! I guess not. it used to be that whenever I'd experience any kind of pain or tragedy or even just everyday inconveniences, I just put it down to life. You know, everything's chaos, it's all chance, don't take it personally. But if you become a believer, I mean, if you take what the Bible or the Quran or whatever tells you as truth, then you'd think you'd get it a little easier. No. You still get screwed around. The only difference now is that I can give a name to my pain, and I am taking it very personally. I couldn't tell you how long I've been here. Time only exists when it has a point of reference. But it didn't take me long to work out that the exit to this place wasn't a physical one. Though that still hasn't stopped me wondering. But I guess that's the thing about death. Once you've seen the absolute darkness, I mean the sheer pitch black that waits for all of us if we don't lead perfect, saintly, biblical lives, then all of a sudden very few things start to matter.